Good evening. I have 5 o'clock. If you can hear me. This is a special meeting of the Board of City Commissioners and the Burleigh County Commission. It's the 17th of September. We're in the Tom Baker Room of the City County Building. Before we start, we'll call the meeting order. If we can call roll.
Mayor Schmitz,
Here.
Commissioner Cleary,
Here.
Sinker,
Here.
Frisch,
Here.
Connolly,
Here.
Chair Bittner,
Here.
Commissioner Bakken,
Here.
Munson,
Here.
Schwab,
Here.
Woodcox.
Here.
All right. At this point in time, it's public comment period. And the public comment is for the, I don't know.
Could I interrupt
I'm sorry.
the flag?
Oh, I am so sorry. It was not listed on my agenda, so I did not follow it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I didn't have it listed, so I'm checking off. All right, we're at public comment. The public comment is for this agenda, or I guess technically we had a prior meeting back in, I don't remember the date, in August, so it would be anything on that agenda, which generally speaking is all ETA. So the podium is open. Please come forward, sign in, tell us who you are, and give us your comments.
Must have a long name.
I do. There was a lot to fill out up here. 3 different lines. Chair Bittner, Mayor Schmitz, and Commissioners. I'm Trent Wangen. I'm a resident of the ETA. I've been a lifelong resident of Burleigh County. Spent the majority of my life growing up in the river bottoms north of Bismarck. I just want to thank you, all of you, for coming to the table to discuss this matter. This matter is important to the rural residents. A lot of rural residents that live in the ETA have some strong feelings on this, but I just wanted to recognize that you were willing to come to the table to discuss this matter. There's not a perfect answer on it. I get that. Not everybody's going to get what they want, but thank you. And I want to recognize Daniel also for the time and energy that Daniel's put in to come up with some options to realistically look at the ETA boundaries. Mitch is also putting energy in this to look at options, but I just wanted to recognize that. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert Field. I'm sure all of you know me. I guess you could say I live in town and I live out of town because I have a house on Richmond Drive and I have a house on Apple Creek. So either way, whether it's city or county, it involves me. Lucky me. So where I live on Apple Creek, there's no reason that should have ever been in the ETA. There's nowhere to build out there. All the high ground's been built on. All the rest is floodway. So the whole ETA thing is just ridiculous out there. And nobody's going to subdivide so somebody else can build right next to you, because the reason we bought, I bought 16 acres out there so I don't have a neighbor that's 10 feet from me. So there's no excuse for that whole area to be ETA. So, I guess I would like an explanation of how anybody ever felt that was beneficial to county residents to force us into the ETA.
Go ahead.
Mr. Field, is the proposed map that Daniel's drafted up, would that take you out of the ETA?
Well, I haven't, can somebody put up the proposed map? You know, that's where it's hard for people to get up here and say something, because nobody's seen the map. Now, where
Well,
has this
so-
been
so-
posted?
So it was posted to the agenda.
I've got one, but
Can somebody put it on the viewer?
Can we, Daniel, can we pull it up? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mayor, and for everybody involved, right? So would it help for us to jump to that line item for the proposed ETA amendments before we have before we have comments on it? I mean, it seems prudent, right?
I'm fine with that. I just. Go ahead, Commissioner Conley.
To field that a little bit, Mr. Field, is that we talked about it in the original meeting, which I know you were present for as well, and I appreciate you coming to that. I was only 4 years old when the authority was developed by the state, and 2 years later, I was only 7. So to ask the question would be to infer what people are that, I don't even know who those stakeholders were at that time. This is an evolution of a long conversation, so it's on our plate now, and we'll do the best we can with it, if that's fair.
Well, the one thing that's interesting about this is the disconnect between people in the city and people in the ETA. I grew up on a dairy farm in northern Minnesota, so I'm quite familiar with ranching or farm life. But you get out there, and since the city took over the ETA, you're saying I can't have a cow. I have 700,000 square feet. We discussed this at the last meeting. I have 16 acres. So to say I can't have a cow is ridiculous. But I can have a horse. Well, who come up with that plan? Have you ever seen a horse and a cow standing next to each other? Imagine that, they're the same size.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Mr. Field, and that's why I appreciate Commissioner Zinker for bringing it up to where we can discuss this, because if that changes that part of the conversation, then we can come back around with the rest of it.
Well, your meetings would probably be more peaceful if you cut me out of the ETA, because then I'll only go to the county meetings. And only Schwab will be upset.
You still have property in the city though, sir.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but you can't build around me on Richmond, it's already built up.
So I'm not sure if you can tell, but so it's kind of hard, it's eye view of this map to see where this is.
Daniel's just going to give his presentation.
Yeah, why don't
Yeah.
we skip ahead to Daniel's presentation, and then that'll give a little bit better point of reference for those who do want to make public comment.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Yep. Daniel?
Good evening. Mayor Schmitz, Chair Bittner. Is this on? Okay. So yeah, I'd be happy to go over this map and explain a little bit of detail. So there's some, looks a little complex at first, but I think it's simpler maybe than it may appear. And one thing as well, this is available publicly. So there is a URL, and we can make sure everyone gets that as well. Obviously, at this scale, it's hard to really drill down and find your own home, perhaps, but you can do that once you distribute that. So this is not a new map, actually. This is our growth phasing plan. It has existed in some version since 2014. What you're seeing here is really very similar to what it looked like in the 2022 comprehensive plan of the city. The City Planning and Zoning Commission looks at this every year. In fact, next month, or this month actually, they will be reviewing this. Just to take stock of the last year's growth, look at the patterns and the trends, and see if we need to make any changes to it. So it's not a new map, although what we're proposing is a little bit different. I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of what these colors mean. The outside boundary of this whole map is the extraterritorial area today, the negotiated agreement that exists between Burleigh County and the city of Bismarck and the townships as well. The yellow area, it's a little hard to tell on this screen, but is the city limits of the city of Bismarck. There's also a kind of a dotted line there you could tell. Now, the area outside of that, the oranges, the lighter orange and the darker orange, this is our urban service area boundary. This is the area that we would expect to provide water and sewer and urban roads in the next 25 years to facilitate annexation and development of that area. So once again, this has been in our plans for quite a while, but this is called our urban service area boundary. Outside of this, we call this our urban reserve area. This is an area outside of a 25-year time horizon, but within a 50-year time horizon, we would expect the city to grow into this area. So urban reserve is to basically preserve the ability to continue to grow into the area without necessarily knowing exactly what it might look like today. We also have an area, and this is new for the growth phasing plan, called Airport Buffer, which is not necessarily an area we would see a lot of urban development. A lot of this is in Apple Creek and in a floodway of Apple Creek. However, it is an area that, for the purposes of the operations of the airport, it would be advantageous to keep within the ETA for that reason alone. Now, the city is growing, has been since its beginning, and we will continue. That is our plan to facilitate that growth. So when you look at the annual rate, I mean, every year the city boundaries increase by 270 acres, about 1.38% every year. So we've projected that into the future, assuming everything stays the same, assuming the growth rates stay the same, the density stays the same. How much land will we need as a city by the year 2075? We think that'll be a little north of 40,000 acres of land to accommodate the new population, the new building, the new commercial areas that we will need as a city. And that's what we use to set the outer boundary of that urban reserve area. So it's roughly correlates to what we expect to have by the year 2075. So once again, all of those areas we would propose to keep inside of the ETA because that is an area we intend to grow into. However, as we heard from some of the members of the community, including planning and zoning commissioners on the city themselves, and many of the public commentary, there are areas outside of that are inside of our ETA. However, our own plan states that we do not plan to grow into those areas. And so really, it's something that we've heard over the years that members of the community in the county really don't have an interest in being regulated by the city when they don't have the ability to vote for members of the city commission. And then frankly, on the other end of the side, I hear internal conversations from staff that we also don't plan on really initiating an annexation. We don't plan on urbanizing these rural residential subdivisions. And so really, it seems to be a case where there could be a win-win and everybody's interest could be served by simply removing these areas from the extraterritorial area today. By doing so, this would remove 95% of all of the homes that are in the current ETA. So we found that by basically looking at the Burleigh County parcel records and any parcel that has a residential structure on it, we're counting as a home, and so that would be removing 95% of those, but keeping about half of the land area in the ETA. Because from the city's perspective, it's the raw land that we would intend to grow into, not to develop subdivisions, and that would be removed. So that is the proposal, and we believe that this will still support urban development over the next 50 years, while hopefully meeting a lot of the concerns that we've heard from the community. If you have any questions about this or any follow-up, I'd be happy to try.
So Daniel, I think because you didn't describe the hashed out area, can you describe that so that people understand what that is? I think that's the area you suggest potentially to be removed.
Sorry, yes, Mayor, that is correct. The area that is hashed out, and we technically have two different classifications for that. The gray hash mark is rural residential areas that are well outside of city limits. We do have an area that we call transitional rural. That is, those are rural residential subdivisions that will be perhaps almost surrounded by city limits in the next 50 years. But we would also propose removing those from the ETA as well.
People have questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Schwab.
What are you gonna do with the people that move out of town? How are we gonna treat them? Because it appears you just. The existing, it appears that you're just moving the existing structures and homes out, but you still are gonna have zoning powers in areas where people move to. And why would you wanna do that? I mean, that don't make sense to me.
So, Commissioner Schwab, I believe you're referring to land that is currently open but may be developed in the future. Is that what you're referring to? So
No, you're gonna be out there approving developments and stuff. We're gonna have water problems again.
Sure. So Commissioner Swab, Commissioners, so part of our intent of having the extraterritorial area is actually trying to protect those areas for future urban development. So in the past, there have been a number of rural subdivisions approved in the ETA. However, our new comprehensive plan is really to try to avoid that and to really have those areas available for urban development so we don't have to work around those future subdivisions. So the intent would be to not need to do that.
Go ahead, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. So did I just hear you say that if somebody owns some land in the ETA, that you're essentially not going to allow them to develop that land?
Chair Bittner,
Is that-
so there's a difference between here. There's a fine difference. Inside the urban service area boundary or outside? Inside of the urban service area boundary, the intent is to, and this is in the current comprehensive plan, to have that land available for future urban development, which could be right away if the services are available, or it could be within the next 10, 25 years or so. Now, there are situations such as utilities or a church or something like that where the city could easily absorb those subdivisions. However, a rural residential subdivision would be very difficult for the city to grow into and absorb, as we found, as we're seeing today. So that is currently in the plan to not support rural residential subdivision in the urban service area boundary.
Well, I didn't know that. That's-
Daniel, for purposes of clarity, just maybe break it down in terms of density. So when you're talking about the city and the urbanization, what that density looks like, because I think we all can agree it's difficult for the city to absorb a 2.5 acre lot. You're not going to pencil that out when it comes to the utilities, and that's what we're trying. Part of one of the things we're trying to avoid here. So try to explain it a little bit in terms of density and what that looks like for the future.
Sure. So yeah, and the density would be pretty apparent to anybody driving around or looking at it. I mean, in the city, you're really seeing maybe 1/4 acre lots or something of that nature on water and sewer. So that really allows you to have denser development without needing a septic tank or anything like that. So, but rural development, our minimum is 1.5 acres. So it's 1.5 acres up from there is our rural residential subdivision. So that's really, and it's really driven by the septic tank more than anything.
Go ahead, Commissioner Connolly.
Say if this map were approved, there's been a loose, just a generalized number thrown out there that there's a population of about 12,000 people in the ETA. So if that were to happen, how many of those would officially go into the county designation, and how many would remain in the ETA?
Sure. Commissioner Connolly, so it's a little trickier to do that by population because we're getting that from the census and they use areas that are a little harder to divide. But if we talk in terms of homes, there's about 3,700 homes that would be removed from the ETA. So, and I can try to get an estimate on population for you, but it won't be as exact as that.
Commissioner Schwab.
So what you're saying is on these areas that are out there that are no development on, and they decide to put a development in, we're going to have county inspectors in there, township inspectors, and city inspectors, which is exactly what the problem is. But that's what it looks to me like. I don't understand why you're so worried about 4 miles out, 3 miles out. They're going to have land out there. Somebody could even have a section, and he's under you guys. He's not going to be happy. I mean, how do you justify going out there and saying, well, we're just going to give you what's been built already to get the people out, but you're still going to have the same rules for that white area? How can you justify that?
So Commissioner Schwab, so you said 4 miles. We're talking about 2 miles out at the most in some of these areas. And I'd say we justify it by preparing for future urban development. And that's really the only goal of the ETA. It's not to manage rural development at all. It's to manage the future of the city growth.
Now, the reason I bring that up is when I was on a city commission, the city had maps of areas, you know, blue, green, yellow, and the green were green areas, and these were industrial, and you were basically, this has got to be commercial, this has got to be industrial, this has got to be recreation. Do you guys still have maps like that?
Our zoning map? Sure, we
I'd
do.
sure like to see them,
Okay.
because you're actually telling people what they can and cannot do with their land. That's my opinion. So could we get
Our
those
zoning maps? Sure, yeah, we can get you a copy of the city zoning map.
When?
Yeah, it's on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, it's available.
Pull it up in a few minutes,
Go to Commissioner.
And, I mean, Commissioner Schwab, that's what zoning is, right? I mean, you section off parcels of property. You put houses there, you put multi-units there, you put industrial there. I mean, nobody wants a factory next to their house either. But that's what zoning does. It determines as to how you build and develop your community. Now, granted, if you have 16 acres outside the ETA or inside the ETA, maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you want to have a horse or a cow. You know, to me personally, I don't care. But as long as our city grows and it's uniformly growing, that's what we're really worried about, is that. So we don't have sporadic things going on within the city or within the ETA, or even you guys within the county outside the ETA. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say for now, because I'm gonna go too far down the line, I don't wanna go.
It's never stopped you before.
There's one guy who comes with both barrels, you know it's me.
Do we have other questions of Daniel at the moment?
Mr. Chairman, one quick question. When the city extends and absorbs some land, moves it into the city limits, if that's a rural subdivision like we have a lot of them around where they're acre and a half lots, what's going to happen to them? Are they going to have to put in curb and gutter and city water and city sewer and all that stuff?
Commissioner Zinker?
So, can I answer that first before Daniel does, sir?
Sure.
So I think the biggest thing here is to understand that the city's not looking for land to annex. We're not gonna force a rural development to be annexed to the city. One reason is because it's not urbanized, and those people don't wanna live in the city anyways.
Right.
The only thing that they would get from the city that would benefit them would be water and sewer. Well, they have it. They have a septic tank, and they also have water. Ironically, some of that water does come from the city through your rural subdivisions and those types of things. We're not looking to take a whole land mass and forcibly annex it to the city. That's not what's trying to happen. And I've seen some of those questions come up at other meetings and stuff like this. You're gonna force us to come in. That would be the last thing I would ever vote for as a city commissioner, is to force somebody to come to the city. Now, if we encapsulate some of those parcels, which are already out there, 43rd, for instance, so be it. History's written. We don't need to rewrite it. Now, if their water system goes awry, which it shouldn't because it's tied to the rural water system, but if they need sewer in the future, their septic, then we got to have a different discussion. But that's a discussion for that community at that time, whether we bring sanitary sewer to them or not. I mean, again, it's not going to be forced upon them, because in the future, if they have a septic system now and they meet the merits of the land and the use, they should be able to replace their septic system. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I can't add anything to that. That's right. Yeah.
Commissioner Conley?
Brace yourself.
Well, Daniel, Mayor, Chairman, Commissioners, some of the things that I've learned through this process in the various communications, kind of what Commissioner Zinker was referring to, in the last documents that we had at the last meeting. When the original conversation came up to where we decided not to forward the conversation at the city commission level, the concept of state plumbing code came up. That I think it's 200 meters, 300 meters. If a septic system goes out, then they would be annexed into the city because of state law. Well, then there was a document during those meetings that came up, no, it would be that person's choice. They could either replace their septic system or come into the city. It would be up to that particular person. that's one thing that I would like to verify, because if that's the case, it comes down to choice, and that's what we also, everybody I know says that they embrace, is that choice. Now, the replacement for a septic system may be significantly higher than it would to, say, pay the utility capital charge. Again, that's on the onus and the resources of the person, property by property. And that's where some of that forced in versus not, because of all of these external things come in. So if it is a matter of choice, that makes this discussion a little easier, even though it's still going to be difficult.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bach, or Bittner, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've been called worse.
Well, I think he was raising, he was probably raising his hand too, so, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to point out, there's been a few rural subdivisions that the county has approved, and we have moved towards city standard sewers with these sewer systems. And that was a huge thing that I worked on, because the idea with doing that is so when the city gets there, that they're already set up to be like the city sewers is. So just so you know, we've already been doing that in the county in anticipation of future, expansion of the city. So.
And it may make that decision easier, or if that time comes, they want to be annexed in because they have less infrastructure to put in at the time.
Yeah, because it meets city specifications. We're not allowing them to put in.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to save taxpayer dollars, so.
Yep. So we've been, I guess the point is, we've been proactive on that issue. And no, I'm not sure why the city doesn't do more of that, because it's working very well out in the county.
Commissioner Schwab.
Well, what's going to happen, the water really isn't a problem, it's the sewer. And they're going to have a choice of a septic tank, or if they're running their sewerage out the back, they're going to have to install a pump to pump it out the front if they don't get grade. But either way or not, when the city comes in, you're going to charge them for sewer, so I would think.
Yeah, I should also add. Yeah, I should also add that what we did, or what I did, is I worked with the rural water system so that they developed a plan for the maintenance of these central sewer systems. So the citizens that are on these central sewer systems are already doing the same thing as you're doing in the city, essentially. So.
Other questions for Daniel? Commissioner Monson.
Daniel, so when you were looking at a 50-year growth map, you've done all the calculations, you're pretty confident that the city needs that amount of land for the next 50 years?
Commissioner Munson, I think so. There's a few assumptions is based on.
Sure.
One, we could get denser, in which case we may not need as much land. On the other hand, we could grow in a little bit more of a, less efficient manner, which in case we need more land. So we've 50 years is a long way to look out, but that's our best guess.
Well, I have no issue with your 25-year plan. That distance between 25 and 50 is where I'm a little hung up on. To me, that should be allowed to stay in the county to allow some more rural subdivisions. But that's one opinion, so.
Commissioner Bachman.
Well, so one of the questions I've got, Daniel, too, is you've got the map laid out for the 25-year growth and the 50-year growth. If there's a scenario where within 50 years somebody wants to do something with their property, is there a trigger point, or is there some common ground where we can reach that, maybe this is managed by the county so that somebody can do what they want with their property, but it's got to meet the urban density triggers that the city puts on it? That would solve some issues, wouldn't it?
So, Commissioner Bakken, so out in the urban reserve areas, we do currently allow rural development in our plan. It's the way it's written. It needs to be larger lots, so 8.5 acres or larger, on the premise that if it were to be annexed in the future, you could subdivide those and create a cul-de-sac on an 8.5 acre lot and develop that. Now, the concept of having a urban density subdivision, where you would unplug basically their septic system and plug it into the city when it gets there, we have explored that, and it could be done. However, it may not be necessary if they have everything they need already. And so we're not sure, and we haven't really seen any examples in other communities of that actually occurring. And so it's a possibility, but we haven't really seen the evidence that it would work out that way in the future.
Commissioner Schwab.
So, my next question is, with the subdivisions that go to the county, what happens if they want to expand? You know, how is that going to be handled? I'm getting back to what I talked about before. Is it going to be, how are you going to, do you have a plan to handle that?
Commissioner Schwab, I suppose it would be possible for somebody within those subdivisions, you're saying to redevelop, so if they wanted to tear down a few homes.
Well, if they want to add on to it, you know, if they want growth of that subdivision and you're just taking their boundaries out and not leaving that growth, what is your plan to handle that?
So a new landowner adjacent to those adding on, and we would follow whatever that area would fall within. So I guess these subdivisions were developed many, many years ago, and those boundaries are pretty well set, and around them would potentially be urban development.
Go ahead.
So Daniel, one of the other things on the map too, on the city's proposal for this map is there are some notable donut holes beyond just the urban or rural subdivisions that may or have been grown into the city. I know the city doesn't like to have donut holes, so what's the rationale behind, in some cases, creating more donut holes, which the city isn't in favor of?
So, Commissioner Bakken, that's a very good question, one that we have talked about here. And I think one of the reasons we liked the old ETA line was it was like a nice, neat line. It was very easy to tell what is in and what is out. However, we have tools now available, and the county and the city both have tools where you can just type in your address into a website and it'll tell you exactly where you are. And so it's a little bit easier to find out your jurisdiction. Now, the donut hole issue for annexation is a little bit different, because I think one of the biggest problem with that is police and fire. So if you're a donut hole in the middle of the city and then rural fire and police are responding to somewhere inside the city limits, that's a big problem, and that gets to be confusing. When we're talking about ETA, it's really just administrative. There's no actual life safety issue here. It's just who do you talk to, county or city, and I'm pretty confident between Mitch and myself and others, we can figure out who to direct people to.
Commissioner Conley.
When you're done being up in this spot, if Mr. Field's not speaking, could you take one of the laptops over and look it up by punching in his address?
Yep.
Thank you.
Can you also grab that map for Commissioner Schwab as well? So, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? Okay. You may be back, Daniel. Go ahead, Commissioner Zinker.
Well, I bet for most of the people sitting out there, and they saw this big map up there, where does their land at? So is there a chance we have an interactive map that we can show them? Because I bet it'd probably answer most of their questions really quickly. Can you bring that up?
Jason's got it up.
Mayor, Commissioners, County Commissioners, in the packet that the city published on our website, I can't speak to the county's version of the agenda packet for this meeting, but the city's packet had the interactive map included in the agenda packet. And so it's been out there, it's been available on our website since the agenda was published. If you give me a minute, I'll plug in here. Daniel and the planning staff created this map for this meeting. I'm just gonna, I just had the link while Daniel was up here, but I'm gonna let Daniel speak to the map and how it all works, and try and answer some questions that way if we can.
Oh, great. So yeah, this is the interactive version of the map. And as Jason said, this is all out there already in the public. Everyone should be able to view it. And in this map, you know, we can zoom in, and you can, if you go up to this little search box up here, you can type in your home address. It'll zoom to it. I don't know where Commissioner Field lives, so I don't want to put him out in public here, but you know, in the middle. But on his own, he's welcome to put his own address in here. And
6951 Apple Creek Road.
well, I'll let you do it.
He's got the address, punch it in there.
Do you want me to do it? Okay. Okay.
You got cakes?
Just use them as an example since you already shouted it out.
Okay. I'm sorry again. 6951. Is that?
6951
Okay.
Apple Creek Road.
All right, there it is. Okay, you are removed from the ETA, so you would be in this area. I'm scared.
Increase my property value.
Okay, so that's how this works. So anyone from the public could do the same exact thing. From where they-
We do one more? Absolutely.
Sure.
2130 Trainer Lane.
Trainer Lane, okay.
It's gonna be just outside.
Outside of the, so this would be removed from the ETA as well. So, mhm.
Commissioner Conley.
What I would say, though,
Mr.
is
Chairman?
if people-
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, while he's still there, you were mentioning that 95% of the homes will be changed and will be out of the ETA. They'll be in the county. So that leaves only 5%. What are we arguing about? I mean, what, are we arguing about those 5%?
I don't know, we're arguing, are we?
Well,
I think the map needed an explanation.
Yes, yeah.
5% isn't, when there's 12,000 of them, that's only, what, 600 left. So.
I guess that matters if you're in the 5%.
Yes, that's what my next question. Who are those 5% and what can we do for them?
Yep.
No, that's a state law.
Sure. Commissioners, yeah, I can attempt to answer that. So we tried to remove as many homes as we could from this map. There are a few, a lot of the 5% are either very large lot development, like 40 acres or so, you know, they're in the urban growth area, which, and many of them may wish to redevelop at some point in their lives. So some of them are areas that are inside of city limits already. There's about 30 or 40 or so homes that are already surrounded entirely by city limits that are those donut holes today. So there's only about 200 homes.
Some of those, Daniel, are like north of 94 and.
Yeah,
and
this area, and then there's a few just
west of
scattered
Centennial,
around.
that area, yeah.
So there are about 200 homes that would still remain in the ETA, and those, and this is just a beginning map as well. I mean, we
Right.
can certainly discuss
pretty
it
big.
further.
Commissioner Conley.
Commissioner Woodcox, we're learning at this point, and this is all new information, but this is the art of negotiation in our process and things. And that's why I'm encouraging people to come up here and speak, as well as, since this isn't voted on yet, maybe it changes the presentation a little bit of how you're talking, whether you're in or you're not. But nothing's, once the change isn't adopted until we have a vote on both commissions, and I think we have to do that separately versus the one. So I would encourage everybody to speak in that regard. Even if there is a vote, since we are commissions, everything's subject to change. Maybe we make this big swing, or there's little adjustments, and then down the road, there's an opportunity to look at things differently. This would be a very big difference for a long, long time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I realize that, but if this is a concession of 95% of the homes, I'm in favor of it. Why not do it? I mean, what do we got to lose?
I guess, I mean, just to speak plainly, Daniel, when you talk about the 5% that's remaining, those homes are in areas that either are fully donut like by the city already, or have potential to become kind of redeveloped into something that they're not. So when you speak of a 40-acre lot, it's like that might become a subdivision when it gets annexed into the city, and that's why it remains, because that, in theory, in those like red spots that you're seeing, would be potential within the next 50 or even 25 years, right?
That is correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that we're all understanding that correctly.
Commissioner Schwab.
Speaking of annexing, anybody that gets annexed into the city right now, do they have to give 5% to the park board? Of the land or the value?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about development of that land,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so that's a city ordinance, and that's been in place since, I think it's either 14 or 15 or 16, somewhere in there, right?
14 years.
Yeah, so, and that was agreed upon with the developers when that happened at that time.
I think it was forced on them.
Well, you can think whatever you want,
Well,
sir,
well,
but
that's
it
what
was
I
voted
think.
on, and I was in part of those negotiations, not as a
So
city
the question
commissioner.
is, say one of these development wants to come in, then they won't meet that criteria, and you'll be annexed. How you handle that?
Well, again, we're not trying to force anybody to be annexed to the city. And if it's a parcel of property that comes to the city, or multiple parcels of property that come to the city, each one of those have their little nuances. When you talk about the 5 or 7% that you referenced earlier, that is a large amount of property that comes in. It's a development, part of that development. There might be a park that's in that area already. I don't think you can always just bring something in and be closed-minded about how you're going to handle every situation, because I think every situation has nuances, and you have to understand what those are, and then make the rational decision at that time.
Well, I'm going to give you an example of what happened when I was on the city commission. They had about a 6-block area up on North Washington Street that was still county, and everybody had built around it. So eventually, the city did have to force them in and threaten to force them in. And I got the city to, give them 5 years to adjust for it. But the problem there was, who's going to provide fire protection? Is it police? You know, it was in the city, but it wasn't annexed. And that's a problem that needs to be resolved, because our first responders are going to say, well, that thing is not annexed, but it's, you know.
I think that goes back to the donut hole
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah. So, and I'll expand it. Are you okay, Mayor?
Absolutely.
So I'll expand on that, because here's, our police department and our sheriff's department work extremely well together. Our Bismarck firefighters and your rural firefighters work extremely well together.
Wait a minute.
They are not going to look at the map and say, hey, that's a donut hole, I'm not coming. If someone needs help and they dial 911, our first responders are coming, and probably your first responders are coming, and that's not a bad thing. Now, will they work out the details? Absolutely, they'll work out the details. Personally, I don't think it's for us at a commission levels to work out those details, because we don't work we're not the boots on the ground. We need to let them do their jobs too.
Well, let me give you another example then. On the south side of Bismarck, there was a plane crash, I believe an eye doctor, and he started a fire down there, and it was moving towards Bismarck. The Bismarck Fire Department was the first one there. It wouldn't go out and put that fire out because it was across the road. We can't have that kind of stuff happening. I mean, I know things have changed, but it wouldn't have been a big deal for them to do it at that time. So I believe you still have the same fire chief, and the mentality on all this has got to change. It's really got to be a work-together operation. And yes, you're right, it should be ironed out.
I'm not actually worried about it. I got to believe a first responder is going to take care of an issue if there's an issue. They have an obligation.
Mr. Mayor, we have mutual aid agreements between the fire and police departments. We help each other out. I don't think that's an issue.
And then why did that example happen? Somebody didn't get the memo. But I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's something to, you know, make sure it's taken care of.
So, any other questions? Because I do want to give an opportunity to our public who are here. You know, we have not done that.
And one other thing too, I think you talked to Daniel, so we're gonna have that interactive map on our county webpage. So all the rural residents that have a question can go on there as well. Otherwise, before we get it up, if you wanna go take a look at it, you can actually go on the City of Bismarck's website and pull that up, but we will have that up on the county's website as well.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cleary.
Okay, so before we jump back into public comment, would it be possible if Jason were to just leave his device up there for anyone who doesn't want to shout their address out but would like to type it into the map to see where they fall? Is that possible to do without it showing up on the screen? Yeah, I think that like the opportunity to use it before you talk would be helpful. If we want to do some capacity of that, whether it's over at the other table, or, I mean, I don't think it needs to be shown on the screen, but just so that they can look up their address before they speak, for anyone who wants to know where they fall before they speak. I think we could do that in the midst of public comment.
That's fine as well, but I would like, you know, anybody that's got questions, I mean, these questions that the residents have had are what's precipitated this meeting. So just because you're potentially on that map, we still want to hear what you have to say.
That was my point when I said I want to get to the public comment. For sure. So, the podium is open. Please come forward, sign in, and let us know who you are, so the public who is viewing at some point in time, if it's not live, will know.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Mayor, Chairman Bittner, and everyone else. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I've been representing our neighborhood, our homeowners association. I'm just going to read a letter from our president, Dr. David Field.
And your name for the record?
Oh,
please?
Tom Persico. I'm sorry, I assumed. There. No, I'm not well known. Anyway, Dr. David Field wrote just a brief letter. He's the president of our Riverwood West Association. I'm also a member of that as well. Our homeowners association is situated on the north part of Fox Island. We are bound by the Missouri River to the west, Southport to the east, and Whispering Bay to the south. We have always been a county entity since Bill Mills incorporated our area in 1984. Since that time, we have developed a strong entity, but have had to deal with confusing overlap of the current ETA. But that was clarified a little bit more, so thank you. I appreciate that. Our organization strongly believes that being just Burleigh County will allow us to have a more direct communication to solve issues and questions that may arise. Riverwoods West respectfully asked to be permanently removed, which I think that's what Daniel said, that was going to be the case. And I would love to have that confirmed and voted on, if possible, from the current ETA. We have homeowners association board members supporting residents at the meeting, and we just appreciate your time and effort. Though I am not allowed to vote for city officials, I'm very sad about that, but I got over it pretty well. But we do appreciate the opportunity to keep our neighborhood as is, not to have to put in the curbs or anything else. We do take care of our own road, even though our road on one side is City of Bismarck, on the Southport side, we're on the rural side, but we all cooperate and take care of it with snow removal, even doing repairs, everything else, and have a great relationship in that regards. And I was very thankful that we saw that we are going to be permanently removed, apparently. So that'd be great. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I looked up where he lives, and I know about where he lives, but in that development, there's an island in there that still says city. Can anybody tell me what that is? You see, have you got a map?
I can see it, but I don't know which one it is for sure.
Looks like there's an island that's a donut the other way around. It's a donut that stays in the county.
Let's see here. I've got it pulled up here with.
By Larson Road, north of Larson Road.
I got to get to the right spot.
Do we got a pump? We got a pump or something there?
Is this station? That's not.
Maybe that's city land. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's, Commissioner.
No, that's Langer.
You see which area I'm talking about?
Sure, you may be referring to Whispering Bay, is that on the extent of Riverwood Drive?
Larson Road is on the south side of that donut thing there, and it goes north of there. I just wondered what it was.
Okay, so here's the map on the screen. So the area I believe they were referring to before is on the north side of Riverwood Drive, in here. So this area is annexed into the city limits already. Whispering Bay, is that what you're referring to, or?
Well, it doesn't have a name on what it is, but
That's the
If you
shape.
look up on the,
Yeah.
his other map.
Yep.
Yeah,
That is Whispering Bay.
okay. And they're going to remain in the.
Yeah,
City?
yeah, that's already in the city.
It's already city.
Mhm.
Oh, it's already. It's not finished.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thanks.
The rest of it would be.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. At least we clarified, I think.
My name's Tamara Unterser. I did give testimony at the last meeting. I don't intend to rehash that testimony, but I do want to reflect on some of the discussion that has been held here today. If you'll recall, my husband and I were developing some property to build an accessible home that was out on Fernwood Drive off of Sandy River and River Road. But I also have family property. It's the Sabat property, which is on 43rd and 80th. It looks like that also will be removed from the ETA, but I do want to address some comments that were made, especially in regard to rural city fire. The whole issue on whether or not once you own in the ETA, whether or not that property can be developed, because it's been our experience that that is not the case. Even when you are following the development plan that the city has, you can be told no. So I'll give you an example. The family was in the process of subdividing the property, and some of the family members wanted to put up storage sheds because we're just not too far east of course, Silver Ranch. And so, in fact, across on the other side of the road on 80th, on the east side of the road, that's rural. And we're kitty corner from the county and next to the power cooperative there. So the family sold a corner to the power cooperative years ago. And so the problem is when you own an ETA, from our experience, this is why I'm not in support of the ETA. I think it should be very limited, not only in mileage, but in terms of how many years you can control somebody's property development. 25 years is a long time. And so when we wanted to put up storage sheds, it was just discussion. We were told no, and that wouldn't be allowed because, well, I mean, you don't need water for storage sheds. You don't need sewer for storage sheds. But fire probably wouldn't come out there. So no, probably couldn't be used because of the fire. And so, it raises the question then, what are you owning property for? You can't do anything with it if you don't own enough to put a house on, which now we don't because we subdivided. I mean, we do get rural fire. So again, here's the thing, like the city's making the decision, but yet we're paying taxes on property that rural fire won't even respond to then. So when you say the whole fire discussion, that's very concerning. And because that is kind of what's been used. In fact, a realtor touted it as that's how you're controlling development in the ETA, is you basically say fire department won't come out. Now, maybe that's not the people around this table, but that's what's happening behind the scenes. A realtor, a very well-known realtor said that to me in a meeting. So That's being used. Their people are being told that. So then that bears the question, we don't, again, have representation in the ETA, and so we can't vote on anything. So basically, we're paying taxes for what purpose? To have land sit? So I know that probably here you don't maybe see what goes on day to day, but having encountered it, I'm telling you it happened. And so, I mean, there's lots of different things that were discussed, but basically, the city was message was, no, you're not close enough to Silver Ranch yet, and we're not going to bring out water. Well, we don't need water. You know, we talked about different things that could be done with the property that my grandparents owned. And actually, my great-grandfather, Mr. Sabat, developed a lot of eastern Bismarck at the beginning, hundreds of, a long time ago. And so, I mean, this is just mind-boggling. You should not have control over people's property for 25 years. And it should not go miles out. So I like the comments that were made before by our county commission. There's no need to have that much control. Basically, what it does, in my personal opinion, is it sets it up for the land to be held until a developer wants to come out and offer peanuts for it, because you won't be able to develop it yourself. That's the games that everybody, like me, some people feel like that's the games that are going on, that have been going on in this community for years. So it's all about development by the developers, not about the little guy. And when you put it in the ETA, you take that little guy ability to develop their land away, because it's being controlled behind the scenes. That's what it feels like. And so whether that actually is what's going on, who knows? But the fire has been used, and that's why I'm coming up here to say the fire department has been used as a reason why. And it wasn't just from one person. So this needs to be solved. Like, you are taking people's rights away over their land. It's been going on way too far. And as I mentioned the last time, this exact thing is going on in other states where they are taking control of property through their planning organizations. And then the farmers are losing it. The people who want to develop it on their own are losing that ability to do it. It's not good what's going on. So I'm asking you again, county commissioners, take back control of county land. It should be very limited, very limited. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Jackson. I spoke at the last meeting. It looks like I am going to be out of the ETA, according to my address. I guess I have more of a question. We're looking at selling our property, so I'm wondering, when is this vote going to be made, and how is it going to affect the future sales of our homes to make our property more desirable or whatever? Because according to my realtor, people that have property, it's selling fast, but I don't know. I guess I just want to know when this will take effect, if you guys vote on it, and when is this vote going to happen?
Well, in theory, it shouldn't change your property value, but we know that's probably not the case. I guess some of the discussion we're going to have here tonight is whether or not we put together a working group to negotiate a little bit more and let staff do some details a little bit further on this. That's going to be one of the discussion points that we're going to have tonight, just so that Mitch and Daniel and staffs can sit down and kind of fine-tune everything. But I would hope we would be able to have this stood up within a month on the next commission meetings, as far as the county and the city. Or not to speak for the city, but I don't see.
I don't see it being a long.
No,
If we come to an agreement, I don't see it being very long.
I don't see this being a long-term deal. We should get something accomplished here soon.
Okay, thank you.
The podium is open.
I know you guys are disappointed that I'm back up here, but, when you guys talk about sewer and water, I can throw the bullshit flag on that one, because I owned a business on the corner of Morrison and Yagan, and it had never had sewer. So then you guys ran the water main down Yagan, so then I got water. And we used up to 200,000 gallons a month. because we test tankers. And you made me pay sewer for every gallon of that water. None of it went in the sewer. I didn't have sewer. So to say it's fair and equitable dealing with the city of Bismarck is BS. Because there's no way that I should have paid sewer when I wasn't even connected. So these people, if they just need sewer, I can't imagine the grandiose plan of how you're going to calculate how much discharge that person gave. Because you didn't give them water, you aren't going to have a water meter. So what do you just guess? You know, at one point, we didn't have any street lights on Yegan and Morrison, and you guys are charging me like $170 a month for street lights. So when you look at it, whoever's in charge of billing doesn't actually look at what's out there. Because I called and bitched, and they had to come out and redo all the street lights, because I said, well, I'm paying for it. You know, I personally don't know why you need street lights, because if I was going to be stealing something, I'd appreciate the lights being shut off so no one can see me. But you guys make it easy for the thieves. You put lights everywhere so they can see. I'd rather see a flashlight running around looking at my stuff so I know where to shoot. So, I mean, the whole street light thing is just comical to me. And I do have solar street lights on my property, so you drive in my yard, they turn on. But so to say people want to be annexed to the city, that's like a voluntary colonoscopy. Nobody wants to be annexed. And it just seems ridiculous to me. So in these areas, it's like a first right of refusal you guys are claiming. You don't own the property, but yet you want to control it for 25 years. What gives you the right to the first right of refusal? Usually you put money down and say, okay, well, we'll pay this much, and we have the right to buy it first. You guys took like she was saying, their rights away. So, and if we are going to leave 5% of the people behind in the ETA, it should be a unanimous vote to let them vote for city elections. Because there's no reason not to let them. Because most of us that are, festering boil on your butt will be out of the ETA, so you won't have to see me again. But the people that are stuck there still need to be represented. And I don't know how many of you are veterans. I know Brian is. I know I am. I did my time on a nuclear submarine. But we aren't big on leaving people behind. So those people that are still stuck in the ETA should have the right to vote for each and every one of you guys. Or run for office. And I'll be happy not to be able to run. I'd rather be in the county. Thank you.
Public comment. Podium is open.
So I've also spoke before, and the map does show that I will be out of the ETA, which I'd be happy to be a county resident and not an ETA. But my question is, if this would get voted on and it would be approved, how long would it be in effect for? So if you guys...
I think the best way I can answer it, I think right now the agreements have been
2 years?
2 years, but
And that's something that I would like to discuss publicly, because right now state law gives the city the right to go out 4 miles. So if we were to agree to this go around, are we going to be back at this table when we have new elected officials at some point, and then the ETA people get thrown back into this mess? Is a concern I have, and I understand that this decision being made by both these boards can set state precedents, and hopefully if we can come to some good resolution, get some good facts out there about the ETA. Hopefully our lawmakers will take that up next session, and we can set some precedents with this whole issue, and maybe see some statewide action. But I think it's a people issue. A lot of people getting up here tonight, and I've sat here before and talked about it. It's a people issue. Regardless if we're ETA, if we're surrounding county, we're still Bismarck community members. And I talked about this at the last time I gave public comment. The city kind of shuns us. I don't think that's right. I sat through our and I'm just going to briefly touch on, then I'll be quiet. But I sat through our Burleigh County Commission budget hearing Monday night, and you guys have more cooperative efforts than just ETA. And I really struggle with how some of our city staff communicate with our county. Because ultimately there has to be those bridges, those lines of communication developed. And I really struggle with that. I don't feel that effort is put across the board evenly. You guys say it is, but I don't think that the squabbling, the back and forth, I don't feel that they benefit any of the residents. And even if this ETA thing is put to bed, there are still issues that we share. So for me to tell you that just because you're getting me out of the ETA, you won't ever hear from me again, I'd be lying to you, because there are things that still involve county residents that the city essentially controls. I would like this whole process to be a lesson learned for all you guys, and hopefully be a model that we can move forward on. And I'm just going to end it with Commissioner Risch. I just am curious if this passes, if we're still going to be allowed to be able to use the parks, the library, because you did make a comment that you think that the ETA residents and those that don't pay taxes should not use facilities that are tax funded in the city. And now that I got you at the table, I want to personally ask you that. That's why I came up mainly. Can you touch on that comment that you made at the last city commission meeting?
Mr. Jensen, I've never said they shouldn't use the facilities. I said it was a bit unjust that I pay park district taxes and the ETA persons don't, and we both pay the same amount at a golf course, at a swimming pool. I thought it was a bit inequitable that I have to pay the same amount. I should maybe get a discount. I pay $622 a year. The one comment you made is about how long will this last? We can't bind the hands of the future city commission or county commission. Whatever these people that replace us in the future, they'll make different decisions. So it's only up to us to try and make an agreement that's equitable now.
And I just want that on the record for information purposes on how long it will last. And I'll just close with, I would ask you to maybe look into what economic stimulus is. A lot of sales tax has been used for fire police lately with initiated measures. So next time you make comments like that, just remember those people are coming into our community, they are spending money, and they are paying for resources. So I appreciate the time, guys. Thanks.
As do Bismarck residents pay sales tax that goes directly to the county.
Any other, public comment period is still open. A second call for public comment. A third and final call for public comment. I'm now going to close public comment. I thank everyone who did come forward, and your information and your sharing is important to us. Okay, I think we went a little bit out of order. We may come back to the ET map, but the next item we had was the utility. Commissioner Schwab, were you going to raise your hand? I'm sorry.
I have a question. There has been, everybody wants to, jobs and industrial development and stuff. Down where Hubbard is, and that little development, Sabre Drive and stuff, has wanted water and sewer forever. As a matter of fact, I believe the city wouldn't let rural water go in there, and the water is terrible. And this has been going on for 25 plus years. So, the thing about it is, if that went to the county, we'd say to rural water, go. I would, anyway. And the thing about it is, you don't want nothing done. Well, I think you're going to have to put a lift station in probably there, or connect to the one that you're doing. However, the thing about it is, people shouldn't have to wait for 25 years that are on the other side of the road. And these are businesses that employ people. So, those kind of things is why I'm worried about these donuts here. I would bet, by the way, there's 400 people in that area that are employed.
Can we just make sure
And
that's added to the?
like I say, they've been begging for water, and
I was trying to find it on the map here, but.
So off of
I
Yagan
touched-
and down.
I touched too many
It's
buttons.
that industrial area
I
south of
touched
Yagan.
too many buttons in my.
It's part of the
map to turn.
airport
Yeah.
buffer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just behind
I was
Hubbard.
trying to pull it up, but we can make note of that. That's certainly something to be looked at.
I'd like to see something done with that.
Yeah, so can I get back? Thank you, Commissioner. We're to item 3 on the agenda was the utility capital charge presentation, and I believe Michael Martz will probably do that. He's going to come up here, Commissioner Zinker's. Commissioner Zinker's got him cornered for a minute. I said none of that. If you'd asked me, I'd have said a lot longer than that. Michael, thank you.
I got something here we make this week except for last night.
So, I want to say something before we kind of get started on that. I believe that he's the guy that I was talking with and working with on a water loss question at the Provident Building. Is that you?
Correct, that's me.
I want to thank you for your assistance, and I want you guys to publicly understand that he was very helpful, and he has been providing assistance in regards to a problem that we were having within the building, and I appreciate it, so thank you.
You're welcome. I think it was also my other staff that's named Michael, too, that's been helping you, so.
Yeah, well,
Can I get the number on the screen here?
I guess to make it easier, everybody that I contacted from the city during that conversation was equally helpful.
Good to hear.
Commissioners, Mayor, Chair, everybody. First, Schwab, I'd like to address your one comment about that Hubbard feed area. They are outside of the city limits right now, okay? So we don't provide services to anybody that's not within the city
I know.
limits.
Why don't you give them to the county, though, and then we'll let them have water? Rural water.
Sure. I guess I don't know where they get their water from, if it's from the county for wells, okay?
And it's brown when it comes out. There's so much iron in it, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You
All
can speak
right,
to
let me
that.
try this again.
I mean, it's actually, I think, undrinkable. So what that would be, that strip that goes down along Yagan Road? By the way, who does own that road?
This is why you
this
have
a
paper
half-half
backup.
deal? Okay.
One more time with the link. Apparently I didn't have the device turned on right.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because I think, you know, you were talking about left behind, and them people have been left behind for over 25 years. And I just don't think that's right.
All right, I give up. Commissioner, for everyone that doesn't know me, my name is Michael Mart. I am the Director of Utility Operations, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what held in abeyance stuff, costs held in abeyance and utility capital charge, how that affects when people come within the city. So just to highlight costs held in abeyance. Basically, this is a tool used to assign benefit to newly annexed property for infrastructure previously constructed. We've built water mains, we've constructed our water plant, our wastewater plant. There's a lot of infrastructure that's been put in place to get water to our edges of town, and to newly annexed property. And so this is typically handled by special assessments placed on property after they annex into the city. And then currently, really all that we do for held in abeyance, it's used for regional stormwater and street improvements. There are some parks things that are held in abeyance, but the parks is outside of the city, and I don't know how they implement their stuff. Held in abeyance was previously used for our water and sewer mains constructed prior to 2019. So first I'll just talk about our stormwater improvements that are held in abeyance. So this only applies to our regional stormwater projects, and what this does is it looks at the benefiting property from the infrastructure that we're installing, the drainage ways, the pipes, the ponds, what benefits, and yes, some of this may include property that are outside of the current city limits, and those properties that are outside, we hold those costs in abeyance. And then the assignment of that cost is then put on that property after it is annexed into the city, and it's based off of its square footage. So to give you an idea of what this looks like, here's an area of town. You talk about donut holes, there's a few things up here that look like that. The black line is our city limits, the red line is the ETA. The yellow is currently areas that we have properties held in abeyance. So not every portion of the ETA has costs that are held in abeyance, and this is only for stormwater. This is our last part that we have. So I wanted to share that part of a cost that's there. Each one of these does have a different cost kind of associated with the cost per square foot, and it's only on the square foot that is the lot size. So we take into account streets and undevelopable type area too.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Can I ask just a quick question? Do you have any kind of idea what the cost per square foot kind of averages in that?
Not without looking at them individually. Some of them have a couple projects applied to those areas over time. They might be 2 or 3 projects. Some of them only have 1. So it does vary. And the map that we have, there also is some areas that maybe haven't been drawn up that were created much older in time.
Okay. So you don't have anything that kind of comes to mind as far as, like if you had, 60,000 square feet, what that could likely.
I don't, not for that. But if it wasn't yellow, there is no held in abeyance cost for stormwater.
Right.
So.
Right. I was just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Thanks. So when it comes to water sewer, again, we no longer have a held in abeyance cost. We've switched to something called the utility capital charge, or UCC. And again, this is a buy-in to our water treatment, our transmission, our wastewater treatment process, all of that's been constructed over the years. We implemented the UCC cost in February. The rates have been held the same since we implemented in February of 19. This replaces trunk line fees. This replaces the water sewer held in abeyance. So when you hear some of those, that's what it used to be. And this is paid at the time of development. So when a property annexes into the city, wants to develop, or it's paid when the water meter is installed, depending on certain situations. And then to give you an idea of what these are, this is based off of a water meter. We have water meters all the way up to 6-inch. The most common that we see are 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 2 inch. These are the costs for the UCCs. A 3/4 inch meter is typically a residential home. A 1 inch meter is commercial property, maybe some homes, and a 2 inch meter, I mean, these are bigger commercial properties that are usually using a lot of water that have this. And again, the costs do vary depending on the meter size. So when a property does choose to come into the city and to be annexed into the city, we look at the properties that they're going to put on. We charge 3/4 inch or 1 inch or 2 inch, and then we also may have held in abeyance costs for stormwater. I will stand for any questions.
Questions? Go ahead. Commissioner Conley.
I'm the one that's really pressed hard on this issue for years, more than a decade. And so your predecessor was the one that taught me about the abeyance topic, Michelle, and things. And the conversation has evolved over time with these utility capital charges. So when we mentioned earlier, if somebody's septic system goes out in the county and depending on the structure, maybe they want to replace their septic system. It's not cheap to replace those, but maybe they want to do it or they have the means to do it. But if it's a 3/4 inch, $4,600, that might be a financial advantage to them. And if they choose to annex in at that time, that's a benefit. Where all of a sudden, if it's a 2-inch meter, those costs may be even, or depending on the size of the structure, it can grow exponentially, or if it's a multi-unit, it can grow at that time as well. So it really puts it into perspective for those individual property owners, where before, when it was the trunk line costs, that's where we saw those multi-$1,000 costs in abeyance. So now when somebody sees the term abeyance, say on our staff reports that we get, because when I see that, I kept asking questions based on what the difference was, and it was, I don't know if I'm picking the right term, it was kind of a vanilla answer, like to get us to the next conversation so we didn't have to talk about it. So in context with this helps. And that, so maybe in the working group, as we talk about our processes, we can make sure that we could be crystal clear on those conversations, since all of it's been kind of in the fold. If you have anything to add to that, I'd just like to put that out there.
I do not.
Commissioner, I will add to that, because I just don't want it to be confusing out there that, hey, even though we have these charges for those sizes of meters, I mean, that's the cost from the city. There's still costs to be able to bring that water and sewer up to your building. So I don't want anybody to think, hey, if my septic system goes out, I just got to pay the city $7,700 and I'm going to have sewer service. That's not the case. That's the case to buy into the system, and then you'll still have expenses to bring the sewer and the other stuff that happens there. So don't look at this as like, hey, this is the deal, right? Because it's not. It's only one piece of the puzzle.
Mr. Chairman, when you look at these rates, if, say, a development comes in and there's 20 existing structures and there's 30 lots that are not built, so there's 50 lots, and this is a charge per lot, or per, you talk about square foot of what? Of the lot or of the house?
The UCC rate is charged per meter. So usually one lot has 1 meter, but that's not always the case. Some lots do have multiple meters at their choice. The stormwater, if there is held in abeyance, would be on the square foot of their lot.
Of the lot, okay. Now, does the developer pay this up front? Is that what he does? And then he puts it in the cost of the property he's selling, or what?
Under our current policy with UCCs, yes, the developer pays that for every lot up front.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schwab.
The city puts in 3/4 inch water lines?
That's from the main to the house. So it's the size of the line that's inside the house, or the size of the meter in the house. That's their service line.
Boy, that isn't a lot of water line, a very big
Michael,
water
no.
line.
So the service line is probably 1 inch, but the meter itself is 3/4. I mean, I don't remember ever going to, and obviously I'm in that industry, going to a house and it's a 3/4 line coming in within the city. Typically it's a 1 inch line, and then they put a 3/4 inch meter after that. And it's, I mean, when you look at the volumes and stuff from irrigation, it's pretty close to what you get out of a 3/4 inch meter and a 1 inch meter.
Any other questions? Commissioner Conley?
Just one comment with it, and I appreciate what you said, Commissioner Zinker, is a lot of the abeyance talk from like 10 years ago and things is so that most of those assessed costs can transfer at the point of sale of a property instead of being held in the abeyance and then all of a sudden hit a property all at once later down the road. That created a hardship for people, and with the water utility rates changes, the conversation in 2018 to 2019, it took most of those off that conversation to where it was always at the point of transfer. And it was a huge, huge benefit to citizens. So your department, I don't know how much you helped Michelle in that, but your department certainly did a lot of work on that. And I appreciate it. I sat in on everyone as a citizen. I wasn't elected yet.
Commissioner Bittner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I didn't understand it quite right, but you said that certain costs were paid by the developers up front, right?
The
What
UCCs
costs are paid by the developer up front, and how does that relate to the?
all the held in abeyance costs are assessed, right? Yep. Where's your Chair Bittner?
So the abeyance is just the stormwater and street related stuff, is that?
Typically, yes, it's stormwater and street, or what we would be holding right now is stormwater and street. That would be then assessed onto that property, whatever
And so
those costs might be.
So the city pays for that?
Up front, when the original construction started, yes, we paid for that up front.
So a simple question maybe is, well, why isn't that being paid up front as well? Because it's benefiting land that's not in a development?
I
mean, how?
Chair Bittner.
I
don't know.
That would be the
quite-
ghosts of Commission Pass, right? They made a business decision to do that. Maybe it wasn't at that time, maybe it was the best business decision. Today, we don't do that, right? I mean, now those types of abeyances aren't out there.
Right.
You gotta do that. So,
That's
I
part
mean,
of
it's-
the growth plan for
yeah.
the cities, to not have us have these big gaps with streets running to developed land and somebody not paying for that, benefiting parcels. So
Sure.
that was a major issue for a long time.
Thanks for clarification.
Mr. Chairman, why should the county commission be concerned about this presentation? What do we have? We don't have anything to do with this.
Ask Commissioner Conley.
Right? I'm sorry?
He's the guy who won.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing.
Yeah, why are we concerned about, at this joint meeting, we're not concerned about abeyances or taxes or anything, right?
Well, there are some properties that still have abeyance portions, and there are some individual owners in the county that's your purview, except for the zoning portion, to where that might be part of the decision when it's on their plate. Do I consider annexing into the city, or do I stay county on their individual properties? And that conversation piece has changed over time from, say, the 2016, 2017 versus how we look at it now. There's been a lot of conversations had on how that happens. So it's an informational nuance that a lot of people understand. And some of the public comment, because I've been part of that process all the way along, some of their comments is in relation to those original conversations. Commissioner Bakken was part of the city conversations at those times. And we've already talked about those properties a little bit. We can go over it again, but it would extend this meeting further. So I don't think we want that.
No.
But I don't know. Commissioner Bakken, do you have anything to
still
add
don't
to that?
understand
But
why
you know
are
what
we-
I'm talking about.
Why is the county
Right,
commission
it
worried
was just a
about it?
conversation of putting undue stress on property if somebody was making a decision of coming into the city versus the county at the time, and that abeyance process didn't work. And there were residents that were penalized heavily to the point where they would have to sell their property getting annexed in to the city because of that abeyance process. So that was part of the reason it got overhauled a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, if I might
Go ahead.
continue.
I think that was brief enough
When-
for you, right?
So you talked
Yeah.
about when they're ready to get annexed into the city. Is there a meeting that they can go to that they protest this going into the city? I've never.
So again, I think we've stated this before, like the city isn't going and saying, we're gonna annex your property. They're effectively
request. They're
requesting to be annexed in. So it's the property owner making the request, not us going that direction. Commissioner Conley.
It's similar to what you have, like you don't put in sidewalks or certain things, or you don't do road improvements unless a neighborhood protests in and asks the county to do that. So it's a similar process to that.
Anything else? All right. Item 4 is, on here is a planning task force discussion, which probably kind of relates back to the whole ETA map and how we move forward on that. So I guess I don't know how much, what are the parameters? I can tell you, I don't think it works very well to try to develop a plan with 10 people around the table. It's better if there's fewer.
Right, and Chair Bittner, you probably speak to this as well. There are some areas that we may have some concerns with the county on this map. So we want to vet those thoroughly, and I think standing up a task force to kind of walk through that process and make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed for both the city and the county would be beneficial. So, from a staff perspective, Mitch needs to be part of those conversations. Of course, Daniel on the city side, and I would probably like to have Marcus involved with some of those conversations on the county engineering side as well. So, your thoughts?
Might make sense for Gabe to be included too.
Probably. Yeah.
So again, my only, we have our joint committee that this is where we would normally do this.
Correct.
And have this conversation and come back with, from that committee to both commissions, here's what looks like makes sense.
Here's a final.
Here's the final,
Yeah.
but that would be, then I would have the hope and expectation if we've negotiated something there, both commissions are going to accept it. Because I would hope both commissions have fed those representatives the necessary information so we can come to a deal. That's my only concern is, go ahead, Commissioner Zinker.
If you want to use that meeting as your task force, I don't have a problem with that either. I mean, instead of bringing this, right?
Yeah.
You've already got an established pattern. There's no reason to
We do.
reinvent the wheel. Have that, make that one of your comments or your meetings is strictly about what's here and.
That's why I
with
threw that out.
Off the last map and move forward.
That's why I threw that out, because we would be meeting regularly scheduled in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Right.
It's 3 weeks, because it would be the first Monday in October.
So I suppose we would be asking our staff to attend that meeting.
Mm-hmm. Which I think they have at times in the past.
Yeah.
Yep. October 7th is the next.
That works for me.
I'm looking for consensus. I don't know that we have. That sound reasonable?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Then I don't know, do we have anything else on those two topics? Commissioner Conley?
As part of the working group, can you add what Commissioner Schwab brought up as part of the talking spot? If there's some special dynamics to Hubbard Drive, and then that police fire conversation, what that might look like as far as how we cooperate, just so when we get it out there,
So we can put
everybody
that as, I
knows.
think that's actually, I think if you want to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
police and fire, that's a whole separate topic. It's different than the map.
And one other one to add on that would be the Apple Creek Industrial Park off of Yagan Road and what that looks like, because Commissioner Schwab's right, and I know this is a point of discussion that came up under my tenure too, was those people have been kind of left on an island, and it's not fair.
So that could be another, I mean, the
Yeah.
question is how many topics we put in one meeting.
Yeah, but that's one of the, maybe an extra negotiated area to have a conversation about.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, I
Not-
think the thing
Not,
is-
not to lose the topics. I'm not trying to lose the topics.
Right.
Well, I think it's pretty easy to resolve it in the case of the Apple Creek Industrial. Just simply allow rural water to install the water lines.
I'm not necessarily
Solve
disagreeing
the
with that.
question.
That might
because
just be a staff
somehow or
motion.
another, because of the ETA, they're being told, you can't service this area. And I'm going,
Well, and I think that, if I remember correctly, that's part of the airport buffer area, because they didn't want over-industrialization in there, but we need to discuss that, so.
People need to be able to
Yeah,
drink
they
the
need to be
water.
able to drink the water.
No, I'm
Make
not-
coffee.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Something could be worked out.
Well, it looks like coffee when it comes out of the well
Oh,
already.
I know, I know.
It looked like
I've been
something
down
else
there.
we don't want to think. Commissioner
The only
Schwab.
thing I want to say about that development, add to it, is that the county does go out and do the snow removal in there, et cetera. So it isn't like, they consider themselves in a county and we can't get them water. That's basically it, but we can go out and move the snow and stuff for them. And I actually kind of feel pretty sorry for them. I think it's kind of a failure of government to have rectified that, because if you go down the road, I don't know if that's Lincoln or not, where that little industrial park is at the intersection of Lincoln Road in Yagan.
Bismarck.
Is that Bismarck? They've got water.
Yeah, they have water, they don't have
No sewer, though.
sewer. Something's
Well,
goofy
we're
there
not
with
talking
some,
sewer.
with some piping or something. I remember this 6-7 years ago.
It's a big lift station.
Yeah, something's going on there. I don't know. We'll figure it. You know what? We'll get it figured out. Between all of us in our departments, get it figured out, get them water. Someone's gonna have to pay for it. Maybe they don't wanna pay for the water. Could be it too. I mean, we're really speaking on
I'm sure
someone's
that,
behalf.
I'm sure they're not gonna be happy paying for it now when they could have had it 25 years ago, but anything, give them a chance.
Okay, are we,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, go ahead.
I want to thank our staff of the county and the staff of the city for putting this map out, because this is a big step forward in my mind. So we've got something to work with, and we may make some changes and add on or subtract, but this is an excellent starting point.
Commissioner Conley?
It doesn't have to be at the next meeting, but I know Commissioner Zenker mentioned state law when it comes to voting and things. For the 5% that are left over, maybe it's an attorney general opinion, I don't know. But,
Yeah.
It's very specific.
so, but I do know that they do some, with how they do the school districts and stuff. So it's worth the discussion, I think, as far as can we look at it differently? So,
You'd have to go to the legislature for that, so.
and that might be it, so.
Okay, so anything else? We've got our agenda, or at least we'll cover most of them next meeting. We may have to kick one meeting, just depends. So it would be my hope that on the 7th, we're gonna come up with kind of a negotiated agreement. That then can go back to both commissions probably. That'll probably end up being the second meeting for both of us, likely in October. Does that make, if I'm doing the calendar right?
I think you're right.
Okay, so for those of who are wondering, like, that's how fast we'd really like to move this. I'd love to see it done by October 31st.
Mayor, we could actually do ours on a week later, because
We
I think
we
our first
could,
meeting's the
yeah.
14th.
Yeah, you're right, we
We got
run
the
a
little
little,
nuance
we're
there.
at the cycle there, so.
We could be before you guys.
yeah, Commissioner Conley.
Are you comfortable if we,
I'm a zinker. I'm always last.
are members of the county comfortable if we made that vote early?
Yeah, I don't see why
I
not.
mean, I think if it's the agreed upon
Yeah.
thing that is decided on the 7th, I mean, we're not gonna vote on it on the same day. We never meet on the same day, so one of us has to go first.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right,
I would be fine with that. Just a little reminder, it will be up on our county website, that interactive map. If you want to see it before we get it up, then go to the city website and you can look at it there and put your address in and figure out if you're the 95% or the 5%. But that will be up on the county website, hopefully tomorrow.
I think it's already up.
It's all right. I think it's already up, so good to go.
all right. We are adjourned, I believe. Thank you.